We've had mountain lion a couple of times out in this area. The other day we were driving back and there was a fox sitting just at the back here, which was just beautiful. The coyotes we hear every night. The geese are breeding out here.
National Geographic.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, we have our own little safari going out here, which is just beautiful. (2023) Rosé. Yes, 63% Merlot. We purchased this property really in the beginning of 2021. A good friend of mine, Joseph, gives me a call. He says, "Hey, Brian." I said, "Yeah, Joseph, how's this going?" He says, "You know what? My parents are selling their property and you need to buy it." And I thought, Joseph, that's crazy. We didn't anticipate purchasing. We didn't anticipate anything because I've run this loop for many, many years, and I know where the property was, and I didn't know the exact one, but I knew it was on this road. I thought, there's no way we could pull it off. If you look out over the pond in the back here, and you've got Mount Ashland, you've got Wagner Creek, you've got Roxy on the side, Baldy on this side over here, and honestly, Trish, we're right in town. We're 1 mile exactly from here to Albertsons.
It's wild.
It's insane, and yet it's so quiet. It's so peaceful. We're so blessed to be here, truly. I was born in Zimbabwe, and back then it was Rhodesia, and went through that transition period.
What was it like being there as a kid?
Oh my gosh. I mean, you got to look at two different time periods, right? You look at pre-1979 and post-1979. In fact, you have to look at 3 time periods, and then you have to look at post-1999. There's 3 different time periods really to look at. The first time period, up to 1979, obviously I was still very young during that time, but Zimbabwe was busy with the Bush War at that time. So sanctions on, Rhodesia. Sanctions on Rhodesia during that time period. No fuel. If you needed fuel for your car, you had coupons, right? And when your coupons were done, then you had no more fuel. Also a very dangerous time period with the war. I remember Monday mornings going to boarding school in a little armored vehicle. And as we'd drive down the road, we'd pick up kids coming to school with us. And, it was a little different. It was normal for us, of course, because we knew no better. It was actually quite a lot of fun, Hey, we're going in the armored vehicle, it's so cool.
I was going to ask that. Did you know it was dangerous at the time? Did it feel just like this is the way life is? Or was, for you as a kid, were you thinking, this isn't right?
I don't think we even thought about it. For us it was like, man, this is just the way life is. And, we knew it was dangerous, of course, because I remember some nights you would hear another farm getting attacked and you would hear the mortars. And from a very young age, we were taught how to handle two-way radios, because every single house was set up with a two-way radio, which had direct communication with the police station. And my mother, during that time, she would volunteer at the police station and sit there and man the radios so that she could be in contact with the army. My father was a stick leader in the army during that time period, and so he would go to war for 2 weeks, and then he'd come back and farm for 2 weeks, and that was his life. It was just really normal for us.
When was your first time to the States? When was that first visit?
I was in my early 20s.
Okay.
And I thought to myself, I really have no major responsibilities in my life right now. And at some point that's going to change, right? And so I basically sold all my worldly possessions and grabbed a backpack and jumped on an airplane and flew out to Miami and started hitchhiking through the United States. So it was 1993. In fact, that's the same trip I met my amazing wife.
1993, I came here to qualify as an occupational therapist. Well, I was already qualified, but to do my board exam here to work here. And the goal was to save money to go travel in Greece.
So often I say, I must be Greece, because that's as far as she got.
How did you two meet?
So we have a friend in Tennessee. She lived 4 hours away from us. I lived in Rome, Georgia. And she said that her sister's brother's brother is in the States and he's hitchhiking up towards her. And if we can go pick him up at the Greyhound station in Atlanta. And we said yes.
You know what's amazing is you arrive at a bus stop, right? Now you're going to meet somebody you've never met in your life before. All you know is that they're from South Africa. Mm-hmm. You've never met them. Mm-hmm. I tell you, Trish, the moment the car stops and they get out the car and you see the facial expression, maybe, you know, the way they hold themselves, you just know that's a South African for sure. You know, at that time I had no desire to have a relationship or to even, you know, invest in a relationship. My purpose was totally different. I just wanted to tour the United States and check things out.
But
yeah, so we ended up chatting quite a bit, and I thought, she's really nice, I like her.
It was very fast. Within a few weeks, it was actually Thanksgiving weekend, that he was going to go travel with us down to Florida. We were going to go to Disney World. And we said, well, we're going, and he had to go for meeting a polo team. And we drove in one car together, and we realized, oh, there's a little bit more here than just friendship. And
Was it talk?
talk, and then I basically that weekend said, well, not interested in a long distance relationship. You either go play polo or we're making this work. It was very fast.
Why don't you come back with me, let's get married, and I want to go farming, so let's go back to Zimbabwe, let's go farm, and let's go do it. And I don't know why, but she said yes. We ended up growing roses in greenhouses, which we exported into Europe. We had about 5 acres in total. When our second child was born, we had a home birth with her. When she was born, I think she was 2 days old, and we had what they called the food riots, and we had this mob come onto the property and totally destroy the place. And we had to load her up in a car, take her to the town, wait for the mob to leave, and then go back and fix everything. And there was no way we were going to do this again. And I don't know, Harare was very violent at that time. The farms were very violent during the elections. And I said, we're just not going to take that chance. It's not worth it.
I'm looking at two different pictures of Brian. Brian, the child, right, the kiddo, going to school in the armored vehicle. And then Brian, the adult, bringing a child into the world when things are hostile.
It's crazy.
It's wild to think about.
It's pretty crazy, yeah. Sometimes you're living the moment, right? It's the way life is, so you do what you got to do. But basically in 2000 we started to get invaded, or our property was redistributed, is the word they used. We had a couple of bus loads come out. They dropped off 160 odd people on the property, and they just walked around and they put pegs and said, you live here, you live here, you live here. And we're not going to ask ourselves, do we stay or do we go? We're going to stay here, and we are going to live here. And in order to do that, I'm going to prove a point. And I started developing more greenhouses. These guys come to me and they say, hey, that corn you planted that on my land. I said, but hold on, you've got everything. I've just got this small little lot here. This is all I got. Mm-hmm. No, that's my land. Anyway, it got really hostile, really violent, very fast.
We had a lot of death threats, going to rape your wife and daughters, and stuff like that going on. He had quite intense meetings. And then on the one Saturday, we were actually expecting to have somebody well-known come to have dinner at our house, and I was preparing a nice meal for this person because supposedly they were having some connections to help us to live peacefully ongoing. And then that's the day when our life shattered.
You're out of here. If you're not out of here by tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock, we're going to rape your wife and kids. And I said, you know what, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm just done. You know, I've got probably 4 or 5 letters of death threats in my drawer. I've been chased with pungas and axes and whatever. And I said, this is not a battle that I'm willing to fight. So I started packing my stuff up, and they said, no, you don't quite fully understand. Everything over here is ours. You just get to leave. So you're out of here. Goodbye. And we've decided we're going to change the date. You can be out by tonight. And then they said, on top of that, they said, but when you drive through the gate here, we're going to stop you and we're going to search your car. And if there's anything in your vehicle that we want that you've decided to take, we're going to take that too.
We knew that the specific guy who had a weapon was very impulsive and can be very scary. So, you know, you kind of prepare for the worst scenario. You know in your head, if this is going to happen, what are you going to pack? What are you going to take? So you kind of know that in your head, so you start doing that.
We had a couple of hunting rifles, and I said, well. So I showed them my hunting rifles. They were, you know, at the gate, and I was at my house. And loaded the rifles up, lined them up against the wall, and we looked at my wife, and we looked at each other and said, this could be it.
At some point, I can't remember the exact sequencing, but we knew they were going to come in, and we knew this is it. They have a weapon. So Brian took out the hunting rifles, put his mum and children and one of our workers in the office. It was the safest place. Handed me a rifle. I just remember I had no saliva left in my mouth. It was just like, and I knew we were on the phone with my parents throughout the day. We only had 2 spots where we had cell phone reception. One was against the wall. So I knew a lot of them were praying for us, but we were standing there, and just by God's grace, true miracle, really a miracle, they drove up and they shouted, you wanted more time? And we said yes, and they just disappeared. They were just gone.
They broke the fence down, they came over, they said, don't shoot. We're going to allow you to leave in peace. I said, okay, cool, good enough. And they left. During that time, a private security company that we employed, everybody employed this private security company to take care of things out there. And they came out. One guy in the back. And these guys thought this was the riot squad coming to take care of them. So they all bombshelled.
Yeah.
During that time, you know, with all the chaos, we'd lost the car keys and whatever, but cut to the chase, we got in the cars, we got off the property. The next day I had a meeting with the private security company and said, oh, the guys are actually, they set an ambush for you at the cattle guard. So, you know, you wouldn't have made it out safely if we hadn't have come. So anyway, that was the end of it. That was it. So now you got to make plans, right? Where are you going to go? What you're going to do? And we said, well, why don't we go back stateside and start up over there? Carien's a very good friend. She was working here in a small little town called Medford, Oregon.
You're like, where's Oregon?
Oh no, we knew where Oregon was.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I'd wanted to come to Oregon for a very, very long time. You know.
Okay.
Read about, you know, the forests out here and the mountains and the incredible waters, and so, you know, I had dreamed of coming out here, but we had never dreamed of doing it this way.
I had a friend who worked here, so we tried to go to South Africa because we wanted to be close to family. All the doors closed, nothing was available. Other option was Australia, and could go to England because I'm a therapist, and then America. And so called her, and she said, well, I've been promoted to the rehab manager in this town called Medford, and I have a position for you.
We're okay, you know. Bank account's looking pretty good on the other side. you slowly but surely start moving some money over, and get things going nice and smoothly over here, and put a down payment on a house, maybe start a little business. What? See how we go.
The American dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we weren't here for more than a couple of weeks, and a friend of mine calls me and says, "Hey, Brian." And I said, "Yeah, how's it going?" He says, "You know that check you gave me?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Your money's gone. Your bank is done. There's nothing there."
No.
Like, When we arrived here, right, that's one side of the story. The other side of the story is we arrive here, I kid you not, people start arriving in their cars. They heard of us coming here. They start arriving in their cars. They start offloading toys for the kids, clothes for the kids, beds, mattresses, linens, you name it. You name it. They didn't know, and we didn't know that we didn't have a bank account yet, right? They take my wife down to Target and say, "Okay, you're gonna register as if you're getting married today." And she's like, "Oh, this is too much." She said, "Okay, if you're not gonna do it, I'll do it for you." And they just went through and started marking stuff. And people hosted us. They had this great party for us, and they just blessed us with gifts like you can't imagine, right? It's like, and we're scratching our heads. It's like, why? What for? It's not necessary, but really do appreciate it.
That is a very, it's a beautiful, humbling place to be.
How'd you get into growing grapes? How did this wine thing happen?
When you come to the United States as an immigrant, I came in as a dependent upon my wife. My wife is an occupational therapist. She's a skilled person. Therefore, we get into the country on her skill set. I, on the other hand, am as good as a Viking in today's world, right? Honestly, I'm just a Zimbabwean farmer, and here I live. So I call Porter Lombard. Porter Lombard used to be in the extension services. Porter is really instrumental in developing most of the grape growing scene in Southern Oregon, from my understanding, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is Porter was so instrumental in developing the wine industry around in this valley. And he gave me this number of this couple in Ashland, and I called them and I drove up there and I got to meet them, and they got this beautiful 3-acre property. And I met Stan and Katie up there, Stan Schuster, Katie McElrath, and we really hit it off well. And we've been with Stan and Katie now since 2008. We're still farming there. It's still our main vineyard. Well, I don't know if it's still our main vineyard, but it's our main vineyard for red wines. How's that?
Yeah.
We grow Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon from that vineyard. And in fact, this wine over here is the Stan Anthony Reserve.
Is this named after Stan?
It's named after Stan.
When you look around at an event and you see all of these other folks in the industry with you, or you go out and visit Nicole at Barrel 42, what do you love about this industry?
Nobody is afraid to share information. Nobody is afraid to help you. Nobody is afraid to say, let's try this, let's do it this way, or, well done, keep going, encouraging, supportive. It's an amazing group of people. We planted Chenin Blanc out here in Cabernet Franc in 2022. This is the Cab Franc out here, and we planted that specifically to create the Cabernet Franc Blanc, which is also not my brainchild, but it's something that I love to do. And the Chenin Blanc, right? We thought it would be fun to have something which, it's not a South African grape, but I mean, it's probably the largest grown grape in South Africa, and I don't think there's a country in the world that grows more Chenin Blanc than South Africa.
Is this home?
This is home.
What's that like?
The first time we came back, we visited our family in 2005. December, they bought tickets for us to go visit them. So when we came back here, we were still on H-1B visums, started our green card application, and it just felt like we were coming back home. And that was that's a huge feeling to feel. And then when we did our citizenship, that is something we didn't expect, because though we're grateful to be here, it was just, it's a feeling of belonging, and we are just so proudly Americans and love our countries of birth.
And the name Eliana?
So you heard my story a little bit. Eliana is a Hebrew name. I'm not Jewish, not Hebrew. But the meaning of Eliana is God has heard your prayer. So I thought it's a very, very fitting name for who we are. It tells our story well. And, you know, what more can you say?